Hello, this is Douglas Williamson. Once again, I'm here with Dr. Petra Kuenkel, and we're talking about her new report to the Club of Rome, Stewarding Sustainability Transformations. In this episode, we're going to be talking about her meta-level guidance concept or model called the Collective Leadership Compass. So, Dr. Kuenkel, could you tell us a little bit about the compass?
The compass has an interesting origin, and it emerged from a frustration of mine in multi-stakeholder processes. I was accompanying quite a number of interesting global and very complex processes around sustainable value chains and sustainable seafood, etc., with multiple stakeholders. And what I discovered is that whenever there was a success, people didn't think about the issue and the facts and figures. They thought about the way people acted. So success and failure was both attributed to people's behavior. But interesting enough, people couldn't distinguish what were the conditions for a certain behavior to happen. They would rather attach it to a person. They would say, Douglas, you were such a great facilitator. Or they would say, so-and-so didn't do a good job, and so-and-so had such a big ego, and that's why I would fail. So from that discovery, and of course my background in leadership development in multinational companies and all the literature that I've been reading about different approaches to leadership, I realized that people actually need a little bit more of a guidance. So
when you say guidance, now we're talking about a tool, we're talking about the compass.
Yes, we talk about a tool. And that is important. The compass is a navigating tool. It's called compass because it helps us navigate change processes, complex change processes, by attending to 6 dimensions. And these 6 dimensions can be seen as human competencies. Like future possibilities would refer to people's ability to shape the future together, engagement to the way they act together and bring other people in, innovation to their way of finding new pathways, humanity to their way of relationship building, collective intelligence to the dialogue capacity, and wholeness to their abilities to see the larger picture. And it is important to look at these dimensions as a guiding tool. There, of course, are lots of checklists behind that for how to design change processes with multiple stakeholders.
So the compass is something that emerged out of your experience in perceiving the different qualities that were present or absent or really needed to be present or needed to be enhanced or diminished within a collaboration process for change.
Absolutely right. It is more because it is based on, I think about, I would say a lot of leadership literature. I haven't read everything, but it is comparing also the different approaches to leadership. And it is doing something that is new in leadership. It is looking at the capacity of a collective. It helps you also to develop your own leadership capacity, but then it looks at the capacity of a collective of people, how they act together in favor of the common good.
So how does somebody actually use the compass?
Somebody can use the compass for own reflection, like what are my strengths and weaknesses in the 6 different dimensions, and how can I balance, or how can I develop a little bit more of a balanced leadership style. They can use it as a checks and balance of a collaboration system. That could be a small team, that could be an institution, an organization, etc. And then of course the questions would adhere to the principles, to the dimensions, but they would then be slightly different. How do we act together? And what is the effectiveness of our acting together for that particular sustainability goal? And at the same time, one can use the compass also as a planning instrument, because if I'm in front of a complex change, I can diagnose the system with the collective leadership compass, but I can also say, now I need to make my plan, and let me check my plan against how am I enhancing or invigorating the different dimensions of the compass. And then I can translate this into my normal project planning metrics, my theories of change, my whatever impact matrices that I need to develop, or planning tools.
So I think it sounds great, and I would just like to ask you just to sort of give us a grounding example, because I think that would help for us just to have an understanding of how can this compass, in a specific example, really move a transformation process forwards.
Let me give you an example of a sustainable value chain. I don't want to kind of be specifics because these are kind of, there are lots of sustainable value chain initiatives around. But planning with the compass, and I'm just taking the example of planning with the compass, means that I look at how the transformation process is designed in a way that it really helps people to collectively shape the future. So how are the narratives coming in, the future narratives, and what are the narratives that are determining the way people act together? And then another element, I can look at what are the step-by-step process architectures that need to be constructed so that people feel a sense of ownership and can develop trust. Or I can jump to innovation and say, oh, kind of innovation is something that is important, and I may need to look at what already exists in terms of innovative or new approaches. But I can also maybe say that comes in at a later stage, but I need to keep that in mind. And I would look at humanity and see what's the system of relationships that is existing. How do people act together? How can I make sure people can respect people as people? Do I need to do study trips, exposure trips? Do I need to actually learn how people operate in the value chain? And not every stakeholder understands that. So I basically go around the dimension of the compass and design my change processes using the compass as a checklist.
No, I want to ask you one more question, Dr. Kuenkel. You've done a lot of research on the literature, and as you mentioned, as well as having many years of practice. Is this compass, how is it really a new approach to sustainability transformations?
It is a new approach because it means that the center of the compass talks about systems aliveness. And when we talk about sustainability transformations, we talk about the planetary systems aliveness. Now, working with the compass means that you're working with a fractal in a human community, in a change process, among collaborating actors, with a fractal of systems aliveness that actually needs to mirror the larger systems aliveness that you want to achieve. That's the difference.
Okay, thank you very much. I want to thank Dr. Kuenkel again for this interview. In our next episode, we're going to be talking about global transformations as a collective leadership challenge. Thank you.